Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. What it do, baby? I'm Rodney.
I'm Jamal.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Vince.
And I'm Gerry V.
And we are
Under construction.
All right.
I feel like I'm sitting next to Don Cornelius.
Well, today we have a very special guest, Mr. Gerry V from ESPN 730. Let's clap it up for him today.
Yo, appreciate it.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Thank you, gentlemen. Pleasure to be here.
Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Spend a few hours with us.
All right. We're going to jump into it.
Few hours. I'm booked.
Let's see what happens. All right. I think what's going to happen with some of the topics we're talking about today, I think we're going to be here for a few hours. We got some stuff to talk about.
We do have more donuts if you need them.
There you go. I knew this was a class operation when I walked in, and y'all dropped a dozen donuts on me.
Oh, man.
So I said, I'm in.
Good deal.
All right. So we're going to jump into our segment, which we call back-to-back winning seasons. Why do we call it that, fellas?
Because we've never had one. Boom, 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 boom. Every week I love it.
Every week.
I never get tired of it.
Man.
That's a joy. The Panthers played a preseason game on Thursday.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They did. They lost 10-3 to the New England Patriots. What were some of your bright spots, if we have any, this week, fellas? Gerry V, I'm going to start with you.
Yikes.
I didn't see any.
Yikes.
I was concerned with the offensive line.
Yeah.
You know what, fellas? People got to stop talking about Cam Newton's shoulder, and they got to start talking about how you protect the shoulder.
Hello.
Because if you can't protect, and I'm putting offensive line, I'm putting tight ends, I'm putting running backs, I'm putting the whole thing in there.
Right.
Forget the deflection of the shoulder thing. It's as if, let's just talk shoulder, because they didn't want you looking at the offensive line.
Yeah.
And that's a big story. It's
Yeah.
got to gel and make it happen. You guys know that, you football fans. You got to protect the most valuable product on your team in Cam Newton. And if you can't, I'm telling those people in the meeting, fellas, if you can't protect him, who's going to protect you when you're job hunting?
Yep.
So that's the essence of the whole thing for me as far as the Panthers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at against the Rams. And the Rams
Aaron Donald,
top 5 in the NFL last year in pressures on the quarterback.
Yeah. I am scared.
So that in itself.
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And Rodney.
Hey, be very afraid.
Be very afraid. Yes, sir. And Rodney, as far as any bright spots, man, this is the second week in a row. I'm just like, throw the whole game away, man. It's the second week in a row. I'm just like, what the hell are we going to talk about with this game? Because bright spots were few and far in between, man. And the only bright spot I can kind of just
Brian Burns, maybe
Brian Burns, maybe actually Will Greer a little bit, man. Look, man. I mean, we're reaching at the bottom of the barrel.
You don't have a shoulder injury?
Look, man, we're reaching at the
When
bottom
you
of the barrel,
start reaching and you try to manufacture a story and a topic, you're reaching really deep.
Yes.
And I'm not a preseason guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I just covered so many seasons. I'm not a preseason guy. That's for the coaches. I'm a real Sunday guy. Now Monday, Thursday, but you get my drift on that. I'm a Sunday guy to find out what happens when they open against the Rams. But let me tell you, the first 5 games of the season, I'm assuming at times coaches like when there's screw-ups.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when they walk into the tape room and you're looking at film, they know they got the whole team's attention. Because statistics accuse you, the game tape will convict you. And all he's got to do is turn the game tape on and they see it. There better be progression from week 1 through 5 on that offensive line.
Yes.
And I got the feeling between now and the Ram game and week 2, you're going to see the improvement of the offensive line because they know they're accountable. Right. If they don't, people keep talking about the second half of the season, how tough it is. You got to get that progressions the first 4 or 5 weeks of the other parts of it, or the second half of the season loses its significance.
I think we need to at least start 4-1.
And our schedule does us no favors the first 4 or 5 weeks.
At all. And to get back to what Rodney was asking, a very generic question, a very generic answer, I think as far as positive would be simply the score. because if you didn't watch the game and you see that they lost 10-3, you would say, oh, that was a good competitive game. But the score was nowhere near indicative of the game that was actually played.
They got manhandled.
Carolina looked like they were still in Spartanburg. And I don't know who those guys were that suited up Thursday night. But I tell you what, college football season is back. And Miami's offense, look, if you took Miami's offense and put them in Carolina Panthers uniforms, I couldn't tell the difference. Because Williams was running around for his life.
Somebody better check under that table. Look at that Mad Dog 2020.
look, I was watching the Florida game, the Florida versus Miami game Saturday night, last night, depending on when you listen to this, and it looked exactly like the Panthers. It looked Cam Newton running for his life. The key, and I know this is a Panthers podcast and we're talking college football now, but there was one play where Williams took a three-step drop, and as soon as he put that plant foot down to look upfield, there were two linebackers in his face, and that's what I saw this past Thursday from Carolina. So it was ugly. It was ugly.
What I'm afraid, and this is just kind of an observation more than it is any kind of fact, but I kind of believe, and just going off what the players are saying, what Ron Rivera said, it looks like the players are like, well, we'll turn it on when the regular season starts, and that's just never a good sign to me.
Here's why it's not a good sign. My bad for cutting you off. The Panthers started out 6-2 last season. When they started losing those games, because we all watched the Amazon documentary from week to week. We'll turn it up.
We're gonna be all right.
We're
gonna be okay.
It's just one loss, and then we saw what happened.
Yeah, snowball effect.
And because normally the generic answer is, well, it's just preseason. It's just preseason. But you do play how you practice, so to speak. And preseason is nothing but an extended practice in my opinion. So
let me ask you guys.
It's alarming to me.
Let me ask you guys a question. Should Cam have played, and ultimately does preseason matter? Should we just get rid of it? Gerry, we'll start off with you.
It doesn't matter to me. It matters to the coach. Different coaches have different philosophy. Belichick says you're getting ready to play football, you play football. If the coach believes it, fine. The coach understands there's possible consequences by exposing your guy in the preseason game. Everybody's got different philosophy. So I don't hold that against him. Do what you got to do to win, because at the end, they're going to get you anyway if you're losing.
That is true.
I mean, there's blind loyalty from the fan base. And if he wants to do it, you do it. McVay with the Rams doesn't believe in it. They got to the Super Bowl. So individual philosophies with it all.
Okay. It's tough for me to say Cam shouldn't have played when you got the greatest of all time playing, a 42-year-old quarterback played in the same game. Theoretically, I get it. He's coming off shoulder surgeries and he's been banged up. The offensive line has question marks. So I get why people say maybe Cam shouldn't have played. But at the same time, you're talking about a guy who maybe needs live game reps. He hasn't played real football in how long? So it's tough for me to say whether he shouldn't have played or not, because I would have rather see Cam play at least a half and not get injured and everything's fine. But we see what happened. Yeah. It caused a big stir really for nothing, because it's just an ankle sprain. But
And I know a lot of people have been leaning on Tom Brady with this question as far as whether or not Cam Newton should play. I don't think it's fair to say, well, Tom Brady is 40-something years old and he's out there playing. Tom Brady has something that Cam Newton doesn't.
Well, he has a couple.
And that's an offensive line. Okay, I think Tom Brady had one rush in the game and he got like 5 or 6 yards or whatnot. Down, yeah. But Tom Brady can take a 1-7-15 step drive. He doesn't have to worry about getting touched.
You notice guys getting upset about Cam Newton playing as an afterthought. Yeah. Because everybody was talking before the game about the anticipation of seeing him play. Right. And then when he sprained the foot, well, he shouldn't have played.
Yeah.
Right. You know, well, it's
up to the coach. It's up to the coach's philosophy, because you're the guy that's held accountable for all the business you got to take care of. Mm-hmm. Okay? And maybe, too, when that offensive line, here's what disappointed me. The offensive line, your tight ends and your running backs, they got a, chip block, whatever, they knew Cam Newton was lined up behind center. So you would think the offensive line was going to come and do a much better job we're exposing him for the first time. That compounds the problem I had with the offensive line. I got Cam Newton behind me, and I failed him. That's not a good sign.
Right. Yeah.
It should be, hey, our guy's back here. We got to look out for them,
Yeah.
and they didn't do
Yeah.
it. That, to me, was a bigger story.
Especially
than the Cam thing.
Especially when the team invested so much in the offensive line in the offseason. They drafted Greg Little. They paid Matt Paradise, and it doesn't seem to be paying off now. But, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. And that. So.
Yeah.
You got wrists up there, too, because Paradise took the back surgery.
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean,
right.
there's some things to look. But I'm hoping for the best. There should be a playoff team and what have you. I just think it's hilarious when you got people coming up now on different shows going, well, Cam shouldn't have played. Most of those guys going, I can't wait to see Cam. Is he going to have that?
Yeah. Well, I was a little anxious to see Cam, but I was willing to wait week 1.
I wanted to see if he'd throw one down the field.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't get a chance
to take a shot.
He can't take a 3-cell job.
And while we're at it, here's another big concern I have. Why can our receivers get open? Am I the only one who saw that?
See,
why can't our receivers get open
with
still?
all of the issues that we're highlighting
You only had to
right
cover
now.
him for a short period of time.
3 seconds.
Hey, with all the issues that we're bringing up.
And then the other thing, too, when you got different receivers and all coming, you got to know when to break off the route.
Yeah.
You turn in and looking and see, my quarterback's pressured.
come
What's
back
my
to him.
next move? Break off my route, stay with the route, depends on the experience of the receiver.
Well, if
That's
we
a good
look
point,
solely at the Patriots game, they weren't able to do that because the D-line was back there so quick. They were still in their sprint before they got to their break. So my whole thing is with the receivers not being able to get open, with the linemen not being able to block, those are more reasons why Cam Newton shouldn't be playing anyway. Put one of your backups in there and let's work on these blocking schemes and let's concentrate on the receivers.
So all in all, we're saying the Panthers' offense was pretty dysfunctional. That's what it.
For now, we'll see what happens against the
for
Rams.
now.
And you know, the offense is usually has to catch up to the defense in these preseason.
So recently, Ron Rivera came out and said that he was comfortable with the backup quarterback situation. They're just going to play it out, let those guys get better week by week. How do you guys feel about that, Vince? I'm starting out with you.
I think he's just saying what needs to be said to keep everything to a minimum. Are they do I believe that they're looking at other quarterbacks right now? No, I don't think so. But I think what's going to happen, I don't think Cam Newton will play week 4 of the NFL. No. He's not going to play. And they're going to look at these 3 quarterbacks next week very, very closely. And depending on how they do next week, I think that will dictate whether or not they start looking at other quarterbacks.
Vince kind of stole my thunder. I agree. I don't think we're looking at anybody. As far as should we get another backup QB, I mean, depth-wise, I mean, we already have 3 we're looking at. So bringing in another one brings 4. So it's a situation where I don't know where the Panthers go with this because, you know, not to sound like a broken record, but the theme for this segment has been the offensive line. Until you fix that, then what's the point of going out and getting another quarterback? So,
what do you got, Jerry? What do you got? Just praying, huh? Just praying. Hail Mary, huh?
It says it all right there.
Just Hail Mary.
Hail
Mary.
Just a Hail Mary.
They are looking.
You think so?
You think they're looking?
Yep. You always look. Never stop looking, just to be safe. You got to practice crisis management. Right. And if they come out of week 4 and they're looking at the progressions between now and that 4th game, you know, when the coaches go to bed at night, are they tossing and turning or are they sleeping well? If they're not sleeping well, you're always looking. You're always looking just to be safe. Doesn't mean they'll do anything, but you never stop looking. And if there's an opportunity where you can improve yourself somewhere, you got to do it. Gentlemen, and I mean that, gentlemen, you got to make the playoffs this year.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Man, if
you got to
make you alluding to something by saying that?
Yeah, I'm saying that if you don't make the playoffs this year, you'll be talking about what do you think of the new coaching staff?
the new general manager.
I mean, everybody you can't be afraid. You can't coddle. It is what it is. Yeah. Separate and spend a couple of $1 billion on a team that hasn't had back-to-back winning seasons, and you're going to miss it again. I think they'll get in this year. I think that they're going to be a playoff team. But at this point forward, you got to keep looking.
I have a hot take. I'm not a Ron Rivera fan. I think he's an average coach at best. And you subtract that 15-1 season, he's just been slightly above 500.
They're 500 since the 15-1 season.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, you know, barring any serious injury problems like we had last year, like there's really no excuse, man. Like on paper, because that's been a common theme amongst the Panthers players, and on paper they're fine and they should be a playoff team and they should be contending for a title. So that makes it even more critical if they don't make the playoffs because you don't have a lack of talent to hide behind.
When you say title, you say NFC South or Super Bowl?
I'm Super Bowl. I think.
Lord, take the
man, look,
man.
Baby steps, man.
He gave me a setup.
We gotta get this NFC South title first, man. That's what I'm concerned with now.
I mean, no, I totally agree, man. But again, the point I'm making is they've been talking very big this offseason. So
it's la time now. Everybody's talking big.
If
Everybody's
everyone
happy.
stays relatively injury free, I think it is Super Bowl or bust this way.
Really?
I think it's Super Bowl or bust.
I believe
because even with Cam Newton being hurt last year, we've said this a few times on the podcast already. Even with Cam being hurt last year, statistically speaking, he performed better than he did during his MVP season. Statistically speaking.
Percentages,
percentages,
completion percentages, but he had one of the lowest ratios of throwing the ball more than 10 yards. If you can't throw the vertical game 20 plus, you're not winning the Super Bowl.
That's true.
So
they were winning.
While I credit Norv Turner for reinventing himself and enhancing parts of the positive aspects of Cam's game, if you can't go vertical and at times test people, defense is going to key up on you. That 60+ percentage completion, while good, you got to peel it back a little bit because there's a story behind the story.
Right.
And and that with defenses can load it up. That back end of the defense didn't have to worry too much.
So who's he throwing it too deep this year?
Well, it's going to be either Moore, it's going to be Samuel.
You think they're ready to take that step?
Well, they got no choice.
Are
you ready to take the step? No. Okay, we're not going to call it.
No, because the reason why I said
you better be ready to take that step.
The reason why I say is because even though they focused more so on the short game last season, they were still winning until the injury became apparent.
Because he couldn't challenge the defense. It was all short game. What happens when you go to second half of the season? Teams got all this game tape on you.
Yeah,
they see tendencies, limitations,
but
if
he's healthy, he now has something that he couldn't do last year. So that's what I'm getting. He could do what he did last year, still win, in addition to what he couldn't do last year. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. He was limited in what he could do. And they were still putting up wins until he just got to the point to where the injury was too egregious.
They looked good when they started the season. Yeah. But then when the limitation game and you get to the second half of the season, people accumulate all that evidence on you and they make it happen. Yeah. It's like when you're dating. After like that third or fourth date, she goes, man, you got a lame rap. I'm out of here. You got to keep adding to your game. Did that work? Give it here. Give me a little bit low.
Oh, man.
I got a new surprise for you this week, baby. All right, we're gonna move on.
All right, let's do
So, so last night, it's shocking news. The Indianapolis coach ran out of luck. Andrew Luck retired abruptly, citing his injuries and just the mental health aspect of it. Jamal, how do you feel about his career and just the breaking news?
This is probably some of the most shocking NFL news I've probably ever heard in my relatively short time of watching sports. I mean, when that ticker came across the screen, I had to make sure I was like, I had to wipe my eyes and like, what did I just see? Andrew Luck retired.
You put the drink down?
I put the drink down, and it was a good one too. You remember the last couple of weeks I've told y'all about various topics that optics are everything.
Yeah.
The way things look are maybe not how they seem. And I started thinking about it because somebody posted, well, Andrew Luck's dad is like the head of the XFL stuff. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, the timing is weird. And then on top of that, he retired in the middle of the game.
I think he already informed him.
Whatever it was, Vince. If he informed him, and before the game started, the timing was just flat out weird, dude.
Well, so what I heard happen was Schefter was leaked the information, and it was supposed to be an announcement today.
Yeah.
And so it leaked, and it just.
And that scene where he's leaving the field, man,
and they booed him.
Man.
That was classless.
That was absolutely classless, man.
Yeah. Well, and getting back to Adam Schefter, that was a tweet that I saw that Andrew Luck had retired from the NFL. When I saw that tweet, I went and I looked at his profile to make
sure
it wasn't a troll
Right,
account
right.
because I was beyond shocked when I saw that. But as far as the news itself, it sucks. You know, I've been a staunch critic of Andrew Luck his entire career. I do believe he's overrated. Everyone has made excuses for him. It's always been everybody's fault except Andrew Luck when the Colts haven't progressed the way they should. But you never want to see a player go out like this. You never want to, and I refuse to jump on the celebratory bandwagon that a lot of other people have jumped on in celebrating him retiring. Yes, this ends the Cam Newton, Andrew Luck debate, you know, and all that good stuff. But it sucks. I never want to see somebody leave the game this way.
But how is he really leaving the game? That's my question, because, you know, he cited mental burnout, mental fatigue, and all this stuff, which may be true. I don't want to call him a liar.
I believe him.
He about 2 or 3 seasons ago, he only played 7 games due to injury. And then 2 seasons ago, he missed the entire season. So imagine missing an entire season, coming back, winning NFL Comeback Player of the Year, and it was actually shaping up that he was probably going to miss this season again. That takes a lot. Of turmoil on the player's mental. And given his overall career, he only played 86 out of a possible 112 games or something like that.
He had lacerated kidney. Had the leg, has the lower foot, has the shoulder,
the hip,
missed the season, had the hip, had an offensive line where you got to run like hell to save your own life. I don't think he's overrated. I disagree with you there. Okay, this is a multi-pro bowler. When I think Andrew Luck wants to retire, first of all, the fans booing, it's a lesson for anybody in the media. You know, that's why I never worry about what fans say, because they're going to turn on you anyway one day if they don't agree with you, okay? Fans have the memory of a gnat. I've been saying that for years. They don't remember. Maybe.
Hear that, Charlotte Hornets fan base?
Y'all hear me?
Hear us.
Maybe, when people that are jamming him up, Andrew Luck, maybe he solved the riddle. Because what does everybody want to do? You want to leave something or do something under your terms. It makes you happy, and nobody knows what's going on with you mentally and physically but you. So maybe Andrew Luck was wise and said, I want to be with my family and my wife. I got my senses. I still have my body. I'm still young enough. I could parlay this money into something else because he'd probably be a good analyst, I would think. So these fans booing Luck,
that's crazy.
Very selfish, very stupid, and very moronic. He may have solved the riddle every man and woman is seeking to solve. The riddle of my path. I'll travel it when I need to and want to, and I've selected this path. Who cares about the timing?
I agree.
I agree. I totally
it's
agree.
your timing, not yours. It's their timing. So I wish him the very best. I was saddened because I was out on a dinner date last night, and the woman I was with was going, man, baby, I want to thank you for taking me out tonight. And I said, girl, will you hold on? Andrew Luck just retired. Can you give me a minute, please?
You need some time.
Let me digest this, baby.
Andrew Luck retired, and you're talking
Forget what you're talking about right now.
Man, back off and eat your food.
Hey, real quick. Hey, I got a page full of stats about Andrew Luck right now. I want to throw you guys out the first 9 selections of the 2012 NFL Draft. Ooh. And don't. I'm gonna ask you guys not to interrupt, but as I say these names, feel free to respond with.
If it's stupid, I'm in.
So here are the first 9 picks of the 2012 NFL Draft: Andrew Luck, RG3, Trent Richardson, Matt Khalil. Justin Blackman, Morris Claiborne, Mark Barron, Ryan Tannehill, Luke Kuechly.
Wow.
So you're just going by number. You got to look by need.
All I did was just take the ones that were drafted.
Well, what's the point of the ranking?
To highlight where everyone is. No, that's not the ranking. That's the order they were drafted.
What's the point?
Just to highlight how that 2012 draft has played out.
And then
as far as where they are now.
Where they are. Just where they are now.
And then if you look at, you look later on in the draft, Kirk Cousins that year. 4th round.
Yep.
And Russell Wilson, 3rd round.
And it's just crazy to look. And
then on top of that, the biggest caveat of all the history of the NFL, where Tom Brady went.
Yeah,
6th round,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody keeps saying that Belichick was lucky. No, Belichick wasn't lucky.
Was smart.
Belichick was smart enough to take what the other people couldn't see.
Yep.
The point being, the draft is all a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot.
It's all a crapshoot.
I love Gerry View.
Have we heard that?
We heard that before.
Have we heard that saying before?
Have we heard that
Right
before?
there, that's the man, the crapshoot.
There are
to power.
Some people have said that the draft. Wow, I can't figure out I've heard that before.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But just to reiterate, it sucks. I really do hate that he had to do that. I'm happy he was able to do it on his own terms. And whatever he does decide to do in the second half of his life after football, I wish him success.
I support him 100%.
So here's a question that has to be asked. I'm going to be that guy today.
Be that guy.
So what if it was Cam?
It would be crazy.
Cam
different.
retired?
What if Cam
It would
suddenly
be
retired
crazy.
yesterday?
Two weeks before the season?
What would the narrative be like? I want to ask your opinion on that because I definitely have my thoughts on what it would be.
That'd be the 50-50 rule. There'd be some people that saying they were sad to see him go. Why is he doing it? What's going on? And there'd be other groups going, I'm glad he's gone. We need a quarterback. He was overrated. That's the sports world. You know that.
I think it would be staunchly different. Generally speaking, it's from the media standpoint, because I really haven't seen too much media criticizing. There's been a few personalities, but I think what you see now, if you flip the percentages,
Criticize what?
Andrew Luck leaving or retiring, so to speak, and a few. What was the guy's name we saw this morning? Doug
Gottlieb.
Gottlieb. Yeah,
gosh,
he took an unnecessary shot. He basically said that Andrew Luck quitting right now was the most millennial thing you can do. And
but fellas, understand this. There's so much competition in the media with podcasts and shows and
agreed.
all. I learned this. There's clickbait in politics and news. Mm-hmm. There's competition for people to get attention to their product. So there's always going to be some guys going to take an extreme, make an opinion that contradicts what others are saying, so they can bring attention to themselves. Okay, some guys are blowing smoke, some are sincere. Be true to your own opinion about it. Who the hell cares what Gottlieb says?
Yeah,
or whatever. You just do. Let me repeat that. Who the hell cares what Gottlieb says? Just.
Please repeat that again.
He solved his own riddle. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what guys do. So
this is the same guy that said that we should have drafted a guy that's not in the league over Kimball Walker. I just want to throw that out there.
But everybody makes the mistakes. But my point being, how do you draw attention to a product? Some guys are very sincere and truthful. Some guys may want to sensationalize it.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened with him. And one of the Panthers players, I want to say Torrey Smith, he definitely responded in kind to it.
Just have some respect for a guy who wants to determine his own path in his own life, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
By the way, y'all at home watching this podcast wondering, how do I keep my skin so smooth looking? It's because the V-Man uses Dove soap.
Dove.
Okay, y'all go ahead.
Hey, we got to get Dove to pay us first. But,
We need a bar of soap right here. Dove. Gerry V uses it. Skin so soft. All right, so we're going to go to our segment, which we call the 10th pick.
Yeah, buddy.
Because it's mediocre like our Hornets. All right.
Mediocre.
Bad.
You might have to get a tetanus shot to watch them play.
Oh, God. Gerry.
Man, y'all have a sense of humor.
Yeah, you got to laugh to keep from crying. Definitely.
So Rod Boone of The Athletic reported that Charlotte didn't go through with the trade with Marc Gasol in the Memphis Grizzlies because Mark wouldn't commit to the extra year in Charlotte. So how do you guys feel knowing that we didn't pull the trigger on that trade?
I kind of feel better than I thought I would feel about that. And because let me explain why. I've been consistent in saying that, with the Kemba Walker situation, how that worked out, with everything that has played out and that has got us to this point, there had to be some point where something drastically changed with the Hornets because it's 3 seasons of the same thing, of almost exactly the same thing every single season. Something had to give, man. So what I'm getting at is if the Hornets felt like they were going to give up too much for Marc Gasol, who wasn't going to commit to the team, then sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make.
Yeah.
And I know that trade maybe was probably a domino effect that led to Kemba Walker having one foot out the door, because word has it he was pretty upset about that trade not being made. But even with that being said, man, there has to be some type of direction that the Hornets had to take. And with all the collateral damage that has happened to the Hornets, there is at least a direction. We know we're going to stink next year. Maybe we need to stink next year.
5 years.
Something, whatever. But the whole point I'm trying to make is something had to give. You add a Marc Gasol to this team, what does it really do? You get what I'm saying?
A nice 7 seed, one win maybe.
You get what I'm saying? So you add a Marc Gasol, and you possibly give up Miles Bridges and one of the young assets that we actually like. You get what I'm saying? What does it really do for the Hornets? And I've said this constantly. I want the Hornets to get to some kind of point where it makes it possible to have a sustainable future. Marc Gasol trade doesn't do that. So I'm just happy that worked out.
Gerry?
I don't have to add to that. I agree with him.
Okay, pretty much. I was pretty indifferent to it. When the news broke during the season, the narrative was that Memphis and Charlotte could not agree on the conditions of the I think it was the first round pick that were being discussed in trade, and that ultimately was the reason that the deal fell through. So if you go and look at the Toronto-Memphis trade, Toronto gave up Vaillancourt, Delon Wright, C.J. Miles, and a 2024 second-round draft pick, which for Marc Gasol really wasn't that much. That's not much.
Would Gasol have made the team better? Would Gasol force you to give up a young commodity you got now to develop? So where's the team going? I'm not giving up young, developing talent for future for a Gasol who really didn't want to be here because he knew it was going to be a non-factor scenario for the playoffs.
Right. Yeah.
So why do that? I mean, there's certain meetings take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I got Miles Bridges. Because you're going to move a Miles Bridges you just drafted again with the past history in the draft. You got to have some evidence to the fan base that, we got a good one here. Right. Because look at the past history of the draft.
Yeah, completely agree.
I mean, I was waiting for my phone to ring on the show and saying, I think the Hornets should bring back Adam Morris.
You know,
I wouldn't have been.
Man's got quicks. Man's got quicks and ups. Give us that athletic speed in the open floor.
Gerry,
yes, sir.
I've heard people want Dwight Howard back. So that's not too far.
I'll throw that. And we should bring back Dwight Howard. Yeah, Dwight Howard is so reliable. The Lakers got him on a deal that they could cut him before January with a warning. Don't come and disrupt my locker room with no harmony or you're gone. And you want to bring Dwight Howard, not you, but I got to go lay down now. People want to bring back Dwight Howard.
So what did you? Let's get away from the Hornets for a few. What did you think about that whole situation with LA picking up Dwight Howard?
I mean, they need a big, and they need a big, just a body that's in there to back people off, so you can to rest people. Because Anthony Davis doesn't want to play the 5.
No, he doesn't.
So you bring him in on a make good. I thought they might bring in Noah, but they didn't. It's a deal where the Lakers can let him go
at any point.
You know? And he's not going to change. It is what it is. Yeah. You know, guys, you can't ignore trends on talent. On talent. You know, after 2 and 3 years, it is what it is. He's going to be under some healthy peer pressure, though, because LeBron James isn't going to let him mess around. So he'll slap him upside the head.
I think he'll be a little bit better.
He's got no choice. He better be. Or his legacy is going to be, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
It was 5 teams in 6 years?
5, 6 teams in 7.
Come on now.
Yeah. I don't think his time in LA will be as contentious as his first one. And by Dwight wanting to go to LA, I think this kind of strengthens the narrative of those who believe that people would rather play with LeBron as opposed to Kobe. Because we all know that. We all know that Dwight did not have. I'm just saying. See, we're not on the same page. We're not on the same page. We're not on the same page. Because Kobe.
Is that vodka or water?
It's water, y'all. But hey, Kobe and Dwight did not get along. They did, and it was painfully obvious.
Dwight doesn't get along with anybody.
Wait a minute. How can you compare Kobe and Dwight?
No.
Hey, Kobe, let me tell you something. You don't get along with Dwight, we're going to trade you behind. You know what I'm saying?
It caused problems on the court that I don't see now.
Wait, how many teams has Dwight Howard been on? What is Dwight Howard, the happy man?
I understand. I understand.
He didn't get along with James Harden either.
No, he got along with James Harden. It
At
was
the end, they
it was Dwight and Harden who didn't get along with the rest of the team.
Dwight Howard would get like 30 seconds airtime on the Gerry V show.
Yikes. Hey,
I'm just saying.
Hey,
And you're giving Dwight Howard a novel here. I'm surprised.
I'm not the biggest critic.
I'm surprised you don't want to play Dwight Howard in the movie.
Oh man! Like, and he does see this, and this is
man wants to
complete
be
opposite. This is complete opposite of how I've always treated Dwight as far as criticizing.
Vince, you're Frankie now. That's all I gotta say.
People get ready. There's a Dwight train coming.
What's the next topic? Oh man, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
You're done.
I got nothing.
All right,
I don't got nothing either.
all right. So this week, Ramona Shelburne.
I want to talk more Dwight.
No.
No. We'll pass. Ramona Shelburne of ESPN released a ESPN 30 for 30 documentary featuring the Donald Sterling situation. Vince, I'm starting out with you, man.
Oh man, what?
Me and you have a connection with this.
Well,
What did you think?
Well, first
Now,
off,
wait. If you're going to come and tell me Sterling got a bad deal, I'm up out of here.
No.
Maybe we should allow you to talk about those guys we were talking about before we started recording.
That would make for an excellent show.
Sorry, guys. It's
That had to be late night.
Well, I'll start out giving my opinion.
Well, I don't have a problem answering.
Okay, cool.
First off, I think on behalf of the show, I think we need to send some sort of apology because there is so much to digest here. I don't think 15 minutes or 20 minutes can do this justice. It was that heavy.
Yeah,
it was that heavy. And I actually listened to it twice. You know, I listened to it the first time, I think on Fridays when we talked about it. Yeah. And then I listened to it again this morning just to kind of refresh my mind to make sure I had my talking points. And I'm just blown away. I'm not going to go into details. I don't want to start this off. I'm going to let Rodney go. What you think, Rodney?
The level of what he was able to get away with
For 2+ decades.
For 2+ decades in the NBA is sickening. Like, it in my mind, I'm like, man, like if Adam Silver was the commissioner now, I mean back then, how would this have been different? Like, would Charlotte still have his team, the original team? Would Donald Sterling have been out a long time ago? I mean, just the level of incompetence was just crazy. And then like I lost it.
I mean, Charlotte would have had the team. What is
like? I'm thinking because George Shinn went through that trial.
Oh yeah, the national thing.
The national trial, like
Caught
when
TV.
when he got stripped of the team, and basically, I'm just at a loss for words. I'm like, I lost it when he called Odin Polynice a buck in the locker room. I was like,
Silver?
Yo,
I mean not Silver.
Sterling.
Sterling.
He called him a buck. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. And then like it was just fascinating as well, like how he helped Dr. Jerry Buss get the Lakers. I was like, he's just tied in so many ways with the NBA. And like, just to have open civil rights lawsuits in the NBA is nauseating. And it goes back to the thing with Chris Jackson. I forgot his changed name. Aruf.
Yeah.
It's just like when he did that whole thing, he's blackballed. And it's just like the NBA culture is just shifted so much in our lifetimes, man. It's just mind blowing to me.
To kind of echo what you're saying, it shows like the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to Donald Sterling and when it comes to David Stern and when it comes to Adam Silver. The level of enabling when it comes to Donald Sterling is just astounding, and it was everyone from David Stern to his wife, to the players, to the other owners, to all the people, all the yes men that Donald Sterling surrounded himself with.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that, you know, money and power is such a...
Didn't Elgin Baylor work for him?
Elgin Baylor worked for decades.
Underpaid
all those years and never said a word until he finally got fired, which is interesting, but I won't go into that. But everybody was complicit in allowing Donald Sterling's behavior to just wreak havoc on not only just the organization, but honestly around the league.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because who's to say there were not other Donald Sterlings in the NBA? But
I believe there are.
We just, we will never know about to this day. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of things that 30 for 30 cover, a lot of that stuff I already knew about Donald Sterling, but it just elevated it to a point where it's just like, this guy was a vile, disgusting human being, man. He leaves me speechless in the way he treated people.
Yeah.
Mainly black people, mainly people of color. There were stories of him forgetting, he used to have these functions where he's basically lauding himself because he's trying to fool himself into thinking he's such a good person and he's giving all these donations, all these charities, where he's literally forgetting the names of the charities, literally forgetting the names of the people that are over these charities. Literally, it's astounding all the stuff he got away with, man.
I have one beef with the ESPN 30 for 30. I think his wife is just as guilty as he was.
I do too.
She went back to him.
She's back with him now.
And they definitely painted her.
They painted her as a victim.
Exactly.
And I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
Truth comes out. Truth is revealed. The thing about truth, there's never a perfect timing to find the truth. Sometimes you have to endure history and time goes on and it emerges. I did this, we did these few segments on a program through the years, and just recently, if you look at the history of what has happened to the politics and sports through all the years, going all the way back to Jesse Owens in the Olympics in Berlin, to the Jewish track guys that were banned from that, couldn't participate, to race in professional sports, it's a travesty what happened. But then what happens is, as certain demographics gain notoriety and more power, they have a stronger voice. And then as the generations change, because, you credit the NBA player, Chris Paul and others, that hit the fed up zone.
Yeah.
And they got fed up with what was happening, and they had no choice what to do with Sterling.
Right.
Well, they had to do it. I mean, it's despicable. There's no room for that. But I agree with you. It does exist. It's always going to exist at a certain level. But it was one of the strong indicators of the strength of the NBA player gaining momentum.
Right.
Yeah.
Because behind the scenes, they were saying, hey, whoa, no more of this.
Right.
So that was one step there. And then number two, the progressive thinking of the new commissioner, Silver.
Who is only 3 months in.
Who's caught a lot of flack for it, and he's ahead of his time because he allows people, but the players still have to stand for the national anthem. Yeah, but he gives them an alternative to display videos at arenas and events about their cause, and they get engaged in there because he says, fellas, we got to compromise a little bit. Let's do this, take the heat off our players, but then I'm going to give our players all these avenues to let their voices be heard. Whereas the NFL was cutting it off at every pass.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I want to speak to that point because this whole Donald Sterling, it was almost like the levees were full, so to speak.
Yeah, and they broke.
And then they broke.
Yeah.
And then you have no choice but to rebuild what was destroyed.
And you needed louder voices to break it and just kick it and break it down, whereas people wouldn't do it because they saw money train here, and over here we saw social injustice train. We saw the money train and the social injustice train collide.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And social injustice won out. You can't have that in the NBA.
And
You can't have that.
And what's funny is the NBA product never suffered.
It never, it did.
The product.
No one cared about the Clippers. They stunk. What if he was the owner of the Lakers? What if he was the owner of the Knicks? The times have changed, and now Latino voices, black voices are louder and have different platforms and getting a stronger presence. So you can't ignore that voice. In the past, people could.
Yeah.
But now it's, look at our political elections too. You can't ignore it. There's a stronger presence. The times are changing.
One of the things that really stood out to me listening to the 30 for 30 was that when actually two things. Tim Z actually said, hey, well, before we release this, we need to go do our due diligence. And that is very surprising to me that they did some sort of background work before releasing something.
We're talking about TMZ here.
Exactly. But when they actually went to the Clippers and said, "Hey, we got this recording," the Clippers management sat on it. They tried to keep it on the wrap.
It just speaks to the level of incompetence. They've been you can't turn around an incompetent ship overnight.
Yeah,
they've been incompetent since the beginning.
Level of fear too. How are we going to get free agents here?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with our organization? What's going to happen with sponsorships?
But they listened to the video, and the response was, "Hey, Doc Rivers, there's this audio recording that's going to come out. It's nothing too serious."
He thought it was a sex tape.
Yeah, exactly. Which speaks to the atmosphere of the team, and then that brings me back to the Ron Hollis part, because I'm sure you guys like some of the stuff he was saying. Once it broke, Ron Hollis was going around like, "Why are y'all mad? Like we knew that
you knew who this guy was.
You knew who he was. So like, why are y'all so upset?" And I'm listening. I'm like, why are you? Why he has a point.
He has a point.
But and I can't put myself in their shoes, because this is their livelihood. They're out there playing basketball, trying to provide for their families. But, I couldn't help but to ask myself, like, why is there not more egregious action being taken before now, especially with Blake Griffin? Because when he got drafted, his mom said, "Hey, look, I Googled your owner, and, like, look." And, Blake Griffin was a rookie, so 19, 20 years old. So I can't expect Blake Griffin to go and take some sort of social stand. But with the amount of things that he did in his 2+ decades there, it's like there are probably people who spent their entire careers in the Clippers organization, whether you're a player or management.
Different time, different age.
And sat there and just dealt with it.
And fear.
Yeah.
Fear, mainly.
We saw that. You saw that with the early stages of the Hornets. You saw that with the Clippers. You saw it with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
With ownership.
Gerry speaking the word.
You can't run from the truth.
Yeah.
Can't run from the truth.
Eventually
Things
we'll
were
catch
happening,
up.
and then in this day and age, where there is so many avenues to get information out there, the question is coming. What took you so damn long for the solution? And some people, look the other way, wink, wink, and say everything is cool, especially when I find out about it, and kaboom, look what happened.
And what's being lost in this discussion, we kind of forget that commissioners work for owners. So there's probably a level of fear that the commissioner, that David Stern had when it came to this too.
Now, do you think that was fear with Stern, or do you think that was more so him just not caring? Because Stern dropped the ball on quite a few things his time. So do you think he was more so just being buddy? It was like, hey, it's not a problem, let's leave it alone? Or do you think it was fear in his lack of action?
I think it was a little bit of both, man, because the thing is, as bad as the Clippers were during that time, they were still profitable. They were still in the largest market in LA.
They failed up,
and they can fail up like the other LA team can. You get what I'm saying? So I think it was both. It was fear on a couple of levels. You get what I'm saying? It's fear because of this PR disaster that was in the works, and then there's fear on the money side of things. So a little bit of both.
Plus the fear of the climate.
Yeah,
right.
People afraid what was going to stimulate from it, like the NFL with Kaepernick. The fear of. What are the repercussions? What's the blowback? And that all got fueled and spun out of control, and then fake stories started to be believed. And plus, too, it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
There's people now, they're more aware, and they're more motivated and in tune to what's happening as far as injustices. And they have an avenue now to get out those feelings. In the past, people were aware and angry, but they didn't have as many avenues to get it out because it was stiff arm or squash. Now you can't do it. So too many ways to get the information out there.
Nobody can edit your Twitter. They can edit out.
Social media is the great equalizer.
Right.
Which could be a great thing and it could be a bad thing because the greatness is it exposes inadequacies and injustices, but the bad thing is it also allows a whole lot of lies to get out there.
Yeah.
And then there's the legal issues and all. I'm just glad that Silver thinks the way he does and said this just can't be tolerated.
And then one more thing, what made me upset about the article is thinking about the whole Stern situation and how he helped spearhead the dress code.
Right.
The NBA dress code.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you wanted this dress code so bad against the players, Sterling was doing all this stuff.
Generation,
Right.
And then at the time, he didn't even have a practice facility for his team.
Yeah.
They were practicing at a junior college in LA.
Yeah.
And you're worried about the way players dress, as opposed to this flat out vile, racist, disgusting human being wreaking havoc on the league and the Clippers. But we're worried about the way players look when they come to the arena.
Yeah.
Hey man,
And listen, what do I say all the time, y'all? Optics are everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to look like your clientele. So
Exactly.
that's what they wanted.
Audience question.
Shoot.
Does this change or should it change the narrative on Michael Jordan's ownership?
Gerry.
Can I-
In what
can I-
way? I don't understand the question.
So,
Is this going to be a bring back Adam Morrison question?
No.
Oh.
I just want the record to show that Vince left this part alone. But go.
I wasn't going to leave this.
Go ahead, guys.
I always want to avoid this too.
I-
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna leave
Go
this
ahead.
alone.
The fact that Donald Sterling did not receive any scrutiny over 20 years of his ownership until the very end, but yet Michael Jordan has received nothing but scrutiny for the Charlotte Hornets ownership in the last 8 years. Is that fair?
What kind of scrutiny?
Just scrutiny.
He's
for
a
being
bad owner. He only cares about his money. He doesn't care about paying the players. He doesn't.
Prisons.
He
You
doesn't
think-
care about
Do
winning.
you think that's a bad rap?
I think it's unfair. The level of scrutiny
Some
that
of
he
that
gets.
scrutiny is fair. A lot
Yeah, some of it is
fair.
screwed. Some of it is fair.
But
What
a
is
lot of
not
people-
fair?
But a lot of people go overboard.
I think it's the
How
level.
do they go overboard?
He's the worst owner ever. He didn't want to pay Kemba Walker because he wanted to keep his money without explaining salary cap implications.
Well,
Stuff like that.
and I think the narrative about Jordan only cares about his money, whereas you have a former NBA owner saying, "Hey, why do I have to pay for socks? Why do I have to pay for tape?
Talking about
Why?
Sterling.
Yeah, why can't they didn't even have a practice facility.
Is this a Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan or Sterling, two different extremes.
But
let's take Jordan.
We agree.
Yeah, we
Well,
actually agree
yeah, we
there.
agree.
We actually agree there.
We agree, but we're saying within the fan base, there are some people that will compare Michael Jordan and Donald Sterling.
What did we just say near the top of the podcast? A 50-50
50-50
rule.
rule.
Yeah.
but let's look. Where is he a good owner? Here's what I sensed. Number one, I'm still recovering from the fact the Panthers didn't have a practice facility. Think about that one, okay?
Shout out to the new bubble.
Let's look at it. What have they done with the draft? Where is this team? How do you not have fans were having a problem scrutinizing Michael Jordan, that I was lucky to see as a high school, college, and pro player through his whole career, because they still were rolling the game tape in their head of the greatest player in the world. So they couldn't separate the greatest player that ever played to being an owner. And many times it doesn't transfer, athletic skill to management skill. One can't ignore that this organization needs to get its game together.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, agreed.
Evaluating talent, putting a quality product on the court. I would like to see Michael as an owner have more presence in speaking to the fan base. I was
agree.
disappointed when Kemba Walker said he didn't have an exit conversation with Michael Jordan. Great player to your all-star, at least to display a sense of grace. I questioned it. I still question how serious is the organization about winning big. I think that's a legitimate question.
It's a legitimate question.
Who's making the decisions on player evaluation, assembling and putting the roster together? Who's making the calls on people?
Can I let me?
Sure,
I'm gonna speak to that point because I'm glad you brought that up, and I think that's a huge part of the optics when it comes to the fan base. Who is doing what? We need people to speak to us more. This offseason, they were as quiet as they possibly could be when it came to the Kemba Walker situation. We didn't hear much from Mitch or Michael when it came to this.
I knew he was gone. I said that when I came back to the market. There was no way he was going to play
But
here.
the point I'm trying to make was, other than just kind of cliche standard, well, we wish Kemba the best, and we didn't want to hit the luxury tax.
Because personally, I think they knew they screwed up. They should have traded him last year. They had no recourse. They knew they were going to lose him, and that was a make good. We got a bad thing here. How are we going to spin this thing? That's the way I looked at it.
And then
that was a blunder. I couldn't believe when he had the value, you didn't try to trade the man. Unbelievable.
Also, with me, it showed a lack of basically forecasting what could possibly happen. like, to me, good front offices, they're like, okay, Kemba's this good. If he makes the All-Star team, we're going to pay him this. If he makes All-NBA, we're going to pay him this. Can we afford to pay him this? What's the best course to bring him some help in? And at some point, a year and a half ago, you know that you couldn't. You know that there wasn't a market for Batum. There wasn't a market for other players that we have. You have to explore trading him.
Here's what I'm gonna cut you off at, and this is just me. You know, I don't know this for sure, but I kind of believe I think they believe they could pull off some type of trade for between Cody, Marvin, Nick, MKG. They probably believe they could pull off something that would keep Kemba Walker in his Charlotte Hornets uniform, and nothing worked out.
Well, if they looked at it that way, they were ready to jump off the ledge.
But after nothing worked out,
if that discussion took place in an office, that just further validates how inept the thinking is. Smart front offices can see the move, the implications and repercussions of the move, and you got to be able to see the move after the move.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. And it's blatantly obvious. I don't even think it's a debate. Yeah, and where they are, their talent, come on. Adam Morrison, then you brought in Dwight Howard to tell me there was a relationship with an assistant coach.
That's like four times.
And then in the game, the way the game is being played, and you look at Gilchrist, who can defend people but can't shoot the ball in today's game, and then a Nicholas Batum that is being paid out the wazoo, who doesn't get to the rim, who's not your upper team scorer, rebounder with those dimensions, and this isn't playing out. Now, all of a sudden, the fans are thinking, why can't we just trade them? Well, if you don't see anything you like, how the hell someone else going to see something they like?
Which leads me to my question.
You think some general manager, I'm going to take him, and him. Yeah.
So with the way that the team has been made up the last 2 or 3 years, you said earlier that they should have traded Kemba 2 seasons ago.
Well, he had a market value last year.
So none of the teams wanted all those guys you just mentioned. So would you have been willing to give up your only good player
for what?
No, that's what I'm asking. And nothing for nothing in return. Because what the
Hornets want to get draft picks.
Because what the Hornets wanted to do, they wanted to get rid of Batum or Williams along with Kemba, and from what we've seen, none of the other teams wanted to do so. So how would
Let me tell you, when you call a team, I'm going to call you as a general manager, and I'm going to see if I can hustle you. Hey, I tell you what, you want Batum? And if you jump on it, I'm in. I know you're going to say no if you got any brains, unless I'm going to give you something for the future. I got an all-star guard that can play for anybody in the NBA. He's dying here. He's dying because he didn't pass the trap test. And here's the trap test, okay? I always tell people this. Kemba Walker's on the floor. Mm-hmm. I trap him with 2. The ball's got to get out of his hands. Who does it go to that can inflict damage on the defense?
Can I speak that?
And then the second pass, who does that go to? Nobody. So Kemba Walker, you're wearing the man out.
Mr. Gerry.
Yes, sir.
Let me please speak
I'm cooking here, my brother.
Listen. The wheel starts spinning when you said that, because there was a game that I was at in Charlotte where they played the Philadelphia 76ers and he scored 60 points. I swear to God, it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, want me to tell you why it was amazing?
Why?
He got trapped every time down the court and still scored.
Okay, well then
points.
take my trap theory, parlay it over 82 games, and tell me how the legs and the body and the mind are going to feel. And when Kemba Walker goes home and Kemba's sitting on the sofa and he's watching the playoffs, he's going, that's got to be me.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get there. I'm getting older. When am I going to get some of that? When am I going to get that taste? He knew it was done, but I give him all the credit in the world. He said the positive things. Mm-hmm. He played company man. He displayed class. He was a perfect gentleman. Behind the scenes, they knew we got to move him. And he knew it. He wasn't going to stay here. You can keep your house in Charlotte and live in Charlotte if you want. He would have been suffocated here.
Yeah,
that's just the reality of the game. I ain't mad at him. I'm happy he's moving along to find the joy.
In closing, what Charlotte should have done was market Batum and add Kemba to
market him.
That's
you got to find a taker.
You got
no. I didn't say market him. I'm saying you're stuck.
You gotta add like 3
You
first
might-
rounders
you might-
to that. To the
You
team.
might be able to move him next year when teams. Maybe
he's
I
expiring.
might take
Nah,
that
next
bad
year's
contract.
expired, yeah.
I might, because then I can get that money off my books.
But you got to take back something.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
probody equally as bad. So you
Yeah.
just let it run out.
Yeah,
gotta-
later,
you gotta
which
give
is
something to give
which is
something, man.
essentially
It's too
what
bad.
they did.
You guys
So-
got me all worked up.
All right, so we're going to transition to our shout outs. This is a segment where we shout out anything good and bad happening in the area, happening in your life. I'm going to give a shout out to the teachers. First day of school's tomorrow.
God bless you.
We appreciate the educators. We love you. You work hard and you're underpaid.
I want to give a shout out to the Charlotte as well as North Carolina hip hop scene. It's blossoming right now. I don't want to go on a huge tirade, but being in the military and having traveled for 14 years, I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Hawaii, I've lived in Georgia, I've been overseas, and so I've been ingratiated in different forms of music. But the common narrative is North Carolina, we've always gotten clowned because we had no hip hop presence whatsoever.
Raving like a helicopter.
Exactly. You mentioned Carolina and that whole spinning like
Petey
a helicopter
Pablo.
mascot, and that's all we had. But within the last year, we've had a lot of good music drop, and it feels pretty doggone good. So I just want to give a big shout out to the North Carolina hip hop scene and just say, hey, I appreciate you guys.
Rodney, you shouted out, teachers who are just so underappreciated, man. They do important work in our community. But there's another group of people who are very underappreciated, who do very important work in this community, who are never shouted out. I mean, I can't even express, how valuable these people are to our community. You know who I want to give a shout out to?
Who?
Those fast food workers at Popeyes. When I tell you, my heart goes out to all those fast food workers at Popeyes who had to endure all week
Who
of
still
people
are.
fighting and standing in line 2 hours and
I stood in line an hour and a half yesterday for a chicken sandwich.
and directing the people who are making those sandwiches. My heart goes out to y'all, man. Shout out to Popeyes. That damn sandwich can't be that damn good, but shout out to those Popeyes workers,
good,
man.
man.
Y'all do valuable work in this community, man.
Well, first of all, I want to make my contribution to the North Carolina hip hop scene because I'm just a preacher in the chapel trying to bust the devil's tackle.
Bars!
And number two, the V-Man ain't waiting no hour and a half for no sandwich. And number 3, shout out to K, you know who you are, and I'll remind everybody that laughter is the lotion for the sunburns of your life.
Bars.
That's it.
Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 2. Gerry V is blessing us with his presence.
All right.
Thanks for having me, y'all.